Welcome in. It is another edition of the Redhawks Coaches Show. We are at Wings, etc. in Cape Girardeau. So I don't know what you're doing for lunch. If you have not made plans or maybe you're still looking for something to do at lunch, we invite you to come out, have lunch with us. Cape Girardeau's Wings, etc. If you don't know where Wings is, right in front of West Park Mall. They share the parking lot with Steak and Shake. So we're right there, and you can join us for lunch. Not only do they have their award-winning Jumbo Wings, voted best wings in Southeast Missouri, the People's Choice Awards from the Southeast Missourian, but they also have a full menu of freshly made burgers, wraps, subs, quesadillas. If you want to go the entree salad route, we can help you out there. Smoked ribs, much, much more. Their appetizer lineup includes their ultimate nachos, along with their deep-fried pickle spears. And you'll notice every TV, all high def, all big screens when you walk in, tuned into the best sports programming, including the NFL Sunday Ticket. You want to watch some NFL football this weekend. You want to watch playoff baseball. We've got two games today. The Cleveland Indians could clinch their first World Series trip since 1997 today. They have a 3-0 series lead. That game starts at 3 o'clock. You can watch it here at Wings. Cubs and Dodgers game 3 in Los Angeles tonight at 7 o'clock. You can watch it in high def right here at Wings, etc. Coach Tom Matukewicz going to join us coming up a little bit later on in the show as we get you ready for the Redhawks' big matchup on the road at Tennessee Tech Saturday. That is a 1:30 kick, and the Redhawks will be facing the leading passing quarterback in the Ohio Valley Conference. So they'll have a big challenge facing a team that really slings the ball all over the place. Tennessee Tech coming up at 1:30 on Saturday. But before that, tonight at the Show Me Center, they're going to open the doors at 6:30, and we're going to have some Redhawks basketball. It's Redhawks Madness. Doors open at 6:30. We'll have the men and women's teams on display, intra-squad scrimmages, fans and students with an opportunity to win prizes. The T-shirt cannon will be there, an opportunity to walk out of there with T-shirts. They are going to be giving away wings for a year from Wings, etc. 4 different individuals, students, fans, will get a half-court shot. 4 of them, if they hit the half-court shot, they get wings for a year from Wings, etc. 2 lucky students will get an opportunity to win $10,000 if they can hit a layup, a free throw, a 3-point shot, and a half-court shot in the span of 30 seconds. If they can do that, they're walking away with $10,000. So it's going to be an exciting night, and we're going to talk some Redhawks basketball with Redhawks head coach Rick Ray. He is here. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's a fun time right now for Redhawk fans because they're following football. Soccer is in full swing. Redhawks volleyball, cross country. Now we're just starting to think a little bit about basketball. We're a little less than a month out from the first exhibition game. What are we going to see tonight at the Show Me Center?
Well, I think the first thing is during that 6:30 period there, like we encourage the kids to get out there because we're going to get the kids on the court and do some ball handling drills with them, kind of camp it up there for that first, half hour. So I would encourage people to have youngsters to get them there early. We'll get them on the court, and our guys will be interacting with them, doing some drills, kind of doing some camp things there for about a half hour.
Let me interrupt you for 1 second. By the way, any kid that does come, 14 and under, if they come for tonight's Redhawk Madness, not only can they interact with the players, they will get a voucher to come back and come to a Redhawk basketball game, any game that they choose throughout the season. So not only can they meet the players and work on some things, but they'll also get a voucher to come to a Redhawk game.
Yeah, and I think what's happened here is our marketing department and our athletic administration has really done a great job of giving a lot of incentives beyond basketball to come out and support us. I think also, I know Rika is excited about her team. I know she has some injuries at this point in time. But I think between ourselves and then also women's basketball, there's so many new faces. And so people want to just get a chance to see who these people are, what they look like. Can they dribble? Can they shoot? Can they pass? Do we have any size? All of those types of factors. So I think you get a little bit of a sneak peek into what the future of Redhawks basketball looks like.
Well, I got to ask you, can your guys dribble? Can they shoot? Do you have any size?
Depends on what day you walk into the gym and what time you walk into the gym. So, but the thing I'm really encouraged about at this point in time is we've got pieces. And I think at some point in time, if a guy is not doing some of the things that we think he needs to do, then we've got somebody else that we can turn to. I thought the difference for us last year is that we didn't have people to turn to in those situations. So you want options. And along with those options, it breeds on competition. So I think if you look at just, right now we're in football. And if you look at one of the reasons like why Alabama football is so good is because like when somebody steps off, they've got another 4 or 5 star there ready to go as far as like the competition. So that competition makes them much better.
I look at your roster, and there are 4 names from last year's roster. That's it. Antonius Cleveland, Joel Angus is back, Trey Kellum, and let's see,
Jamal
Calvin, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So you really pick up a roster. We're going to need a roster because we're going to need to learn the new names, but we'll talk a little bit about it with you here today. But that's a nice core group coming back, guys with a lot of Division I experience and guys with a lot of Division I starting experience.
Yeah, I think if you look at the guys that are returning, you ought to be encouraged by the fact that, first of all, you're talking about 4 seniors, and then Trey Kellum's situation, a 5th-year senior. Then on top of that, you talk about 3 of your top 4 returning scorers are coming back from the previous team. And then with Jamal Calvin, you got a guy who's logged a lot of minutes at that point guard position in Ohio Valley play. So, you're really encouraged by the fact that you got some experience coming back when you have those 4 guys returning to your program.
Well, the question I know you get a lot is, okay, do you have enough size? Now, if you go around the OVC and you look at Belmont and you look at Murray, you look at the teams that are competing, UT Martin, the teams that are competing high in the last couple of years, they don't have a lot of guys that are playing heavy minutes that are over 6'7". There's a few, not a lot. So this is not a conference with a bunch of 6'8", 6'9" guys that play heavy minutes.
And I think you hit the nail right on the head there. I don't think that we can be concerned about the size. What we've got to be concerned about is putting the best quality 5 basketball players on the court. And I think you see what's happening, the evolution of basketball with the way the Golden State Warriors play and other teams is that people are playing so-called small ball and playing positionless basketball. So we can put out a lineup there with Antonius Cleveland, whether he's the 3 or the 4. A Denzel Mahoney, who's 6'5" and 220 pounds, he could play the 3 or the 4. So I think we can have a lot of interesting combinations on the court. But to me, like, do you want to have somebody on the court who's 6'10", that really doesn't do anything or bring anything offensively for you at times? Or would you rather put somebody out there 6'7" who gives you more of an option as far as like having the opportunity to score the basketball? I think with the way basketball is going, the way football is going, you have to be able to score points. And so, like, you still want to be good defensively. You still want to be sound defensively. But at the end of the day, we've got to make sure we're putting a lineup out there that gives us an opportunity to score the basketball.
Coach Rick Ray, Redhawks men's basketball coach, joining us because tonight is Red Hawk Madness at the Show Me Center. Doors open at 6:30. The men and women's teams will have intra-squad scrimmages. We talked with Coach Rika Patterson this morning. Jess Boland and I did on the Sports Huddle at about 9:40 this morning. She's got several players who are a little banged up, little tendonitis. One girl's in a boot, but you should be ready to go by the start of the season. Several players who are probably just going to be in street clothes tonight. How's it look for your guys?
Well, we've got Ray Kowalski had a minor knee surgery. We had to get a scope of meniscus. That happened a couple weeks ago, so he'll be out totally at this point in time. So we anticipate having him back in about a month. Then we have 2 young men that are out right now that'll do 5-on-0, but anything non-contact. So you have our sophomore Jonathan Dalton, who's from New Orleans, Louisiana. So he'll be out there, but he won't be participating in anything 5-on-5. Yes, sir. And then we also have Dondre Duffus, who's our junior college transfer from St. Pete Community College. He'll be out, but he'll be able to do 5-on-0 things. So those guys will be out at this point in time, but we anticipate those guys being back 5-on-5 full court by Monday.
Okay, Ray Kowalski had the scope, so that's something that's relatively recent.
Right.
And you see this thing lingering into the regular season?
It depends on how he reacts to it. You never can put an idea for sure of how a young man is going to react. You can put a timetable on it, But to me, the most important thing is like those guys coming back 100%. It does no good to rush him back just so he can get out there and practice. What we want to do is put him in a situation where he's able to play competitive basketball when it counts, and that starts in November.
Okay, Dondre Doofus and Jonathan Dalton, both guards that you were just talking about. Tell us a little bit about where you see them in your offense. Tell us a little bit more about them.
Well, Jonathan is a pure point guard, and he's a young man that can really create offense, not just for himself, but also for others. And so what we see him as a guy coming off ball screens that can really make plays. And I think what he does is a great job of like drawing to and then making decisions. Dondre is more of your prototypical like attack type guy. Now, obviously, he's not on the level of a Russell Westbrook, but he's that type of attack guard that's really good in the open floor, really good in the open court. And so what we want to do a lot of times with him is just kick the ball ahead to him and let him go create offense because he's so athletic. And I think at this point in time, if I would have to say, he's probably our best perimeter defender. So we think he's a guy that's going to be able to be the lockdown defender on the opposing teams 1, 2, or 3.
Now, we pronounce that last name Doofus?
It's Duffus.
Duffus.
Yes,
I
sir.
want to make sure I get it right. I make sure I get it right. So Dondre and also with Jonathan Dalton. So two guys that are going to run the point, but two guys that have different games.
Yes, and I think with Dondre, because of his size and his physical strength and athleticism, he can play multiple positions. I think he can play a point. I think he can play the 2. I think at some point in time when we want to be small, he can even play the 3. Because there's really not a lot of difference in what we do at those 3 perimeter positions. So I think he'll be out there a lot of times as that so-called 2 guard. But in our offense, the way we play, it really doesn't matter.
All right, Ray Kowalski had a really, really good senior year of high school, tabbed as a shooter. What can we expect from Ray Kowalski?
Well, I think he's a guy that plays with a great deal of confidence, and he's a good player. If you don't know, just ask him. He'll let you know. But he's a young man. His biggest thing that he does is like he can really shoot the basketball. And so he's going to be that guy for us that's going to be that perimeter threat out there where the defense is always in the bind of whether they help off of him. So I think with time, he's going to be a guy that's going to really be a knockdown shooter for us that the other team really has to concentrate on as far as like not leaving him.
All right. Also with Kowalski, would you describe him as a guy who you need to get open or you got to set screens for? Is he a guy that can get his own shot, that can hunt his own shot? What type of a shooter is he?
Well, that's the thing I think is kind of unique about him is that he's a guy that you can run off screens, but he's also a guy that's not just a catch and shoot guy only. He's a guy that when people run out at him, that he can create space off the bounce by going by people. Now, his biggest asset that he's going to have is the shot fake, because of the fact that he can shoot the basketball. So he's not a guy, I think, that's going to come down one-on-one all the time like a Jonathan Dalton or a Dondre, but he's a guy that if you run out at him or you get into his space, that he's a really good ball handler, and he's also strong. He's probably one of our stronger guys that I've ever seen as far as like an incoming freshman.
You mentioned the Golden State Warriors and how many people are changing what they do just based on the success of Golden State. Have you seen anything with the concepts that Golden State runs that you have implemented? Is there any transition for Rick Ray's offense and the style of offense that you play that you say, hey, Golden State is really into something here? Maybe are some principles that you can implement.
Well, I think the biggest thing as far as like the Golden State Warriors offense is having guys like Steph Curry and Draymond Green and guys like Kevin Durant that spread you out and shoot the basketball. So it's easy to say that we want to play the way that the Golden State Warriors play, but you also got to have the correct personnel in order to play that way. So I think the emphasis that you talk about, though, is like recruiting and putting skilled players on the court. You know, the reason why Golden State is so good is because like they put you in a bind every single possession as far as like where do you help from? There's nowhere to help from because each guy is able to dribble it, each guy is able to pass it, and more importantly, each guy is a threat from the three-point line. And so I think that's what we've got to concern ourselves with is like, are we putting up a lineup out there that the other team is concerned about when we run our offense?
It sounds like you're describing Belmont University, Coach. Has he been kind of ahead of his time with the style that he's running? Because, I mean, every single guy can step out there and hurt you with a perimeter shot. Does Belmont have a lot of those principles?
Yeah, when I tell you this, like Rick Byrd has done a tremendous job of making sure he recruits guys that can shoot the basketball. Like he simply will not take a perimeter guy that can't shoot. And so he doesn't get wrapped up in the athleticism. He doesn't get wrapped up in who's he going to be able to guard. His philosophy is, well, you got to guard him too. And so what he does is he takes a prototypical like power forward or center and he puts him in the post and he surrounds him with 4 guys that can shoot the basketball. So it's like when that guy does get the ball in the post, like where are you helping from? And if you don't help, then it's a guy like Evan Bradds who's able to go one-on-one and create his own offense.
All right. Last year, shooting the three-point shot was an issue for the personnel that you had. Again, we reference you've only got 4 guys back off that roster, so it's an entirely new roster with your guys in your system. Describe your confidence in going into this season in terms of taking a step forward in shooting the three-point shot, which is a real important part of college basketball. And you look at the teams in the OVC that shoot the three well, they're usually the teams that are near the top of the standings.
Well, I think our problem will be is that I think we've really done a good job of going out and recruiting shooters, but all of our shooters are going to be inexperienced.
Right.
And so, like now, how do they react? I always like to say, well, how do you perform when the popcorn is popping? You know, so like we don't know that yet. But I think we've got some guys like Taj. You know, Taj can really shoot the basketball. Denzel can shoot the basketball. Ray can shoot the basketball. So I think we went out and recruited some guys that can shoot the basketball. But now we got to see how they perform, you know, at a Murray State, at a Belmont. So that'll be the interesting thing to see. And then also the guys that we have returning, improving their shooting. Jamal Calvin is a good shooter, but sometimes his stats didn't dictate that. So what we got to do is we got to figure out, like, hey, what do we need to do to improve your shooting percentage in games? And so is it taking quality shots, or is it the fact that like everybody knew that you could shoot on our team and we didn't have a lot of shooters, so they didn't help off of you? You know, Antonius Cleveland shot 17% from the three-point line. Now he's got to improve that as a three-point shooter. So I think the biggest thing we did was go out and recruit personnel that can shoot the basketball, but what you're scared about and what gives you a little bit of fear is those guys don't have Division I experience.
What can you tell us about 6 foot 8 inch, 230-pound forward William Chenga?
Now William's a guy that's your prototypical big man. He's a guy that's going to be setting ball screens for us and diving. He's a very physical player, really does a great job of running the court, using his body. I think the thing that his biggest attribute is the fact that he plays so hard. I think there's a lot of guys that are afraid to use their physicality. You know, Changa's biggest thing will be like keeping him on the court from fouling out.
Foul trouble.
Yeah, he'll be in foul trouble.
How do you have him and Kellum on the floor at the same time?
Well, I tell you what, the thing we always, every time we do drills, every time we're out there and Trey fouls, we always say, like, you led the OVC in fouls per minute. I mean, so, like, you know, if you want to play, like, every time that you reach, like, you're hindering the opportunity for you to be on the court. And so if you want that playing time, if that's important to you, then you got to have some discipline. And so his discipline comes from not reaching. So, like, with Chenga, it's like, hey, we want you playing hard. We want you going 100 miles per hour. But at some point in time, you've got to have some discipline as far as, like, not fouling.
What can you tell us about Denzel Mahoney, other than the fact that he was the Florida 8A Player of the Year? I know that he had a knee issue and he had knee surgery, but, you know, boy, that's pretty elite status for Southeast to get an 8A Player of the Year in Florida. That's the largest classification in that state, which is chock full of basketball talent.
Yeah, I think the thing that stands out with Denzel and what we noticed is that in that July AAU recruiting period, I didn't see a basketball player that exerted more effort than he did on the court. He just played so hard. And then also what you'll see is when you see him tonight is that, like, he doesn't have a freshman body. He's really well put together. He's strong. So the biggest adjustment that you have if going from high school to college is the physicality of the game. I don't think the physicality of the game will be a huge adjustment for Denzel. So he's going to play for us because there's three things that he brings. First of all, he plays incredibly hard. He brings a physicality to the game, and then he has a high skill level. He can shoot the ball, he can pass it, he can dribble it. So, like, I don't know what position he plays, and I don't think it really matters. We just need to make sure that we get him on the court in some way, shape, or form.
Coach Rick Ray is our guest. Red Hawk Madness tonight at the Show Me Center. Men and women's teams, intra-squad scrimmages, T-shirt cannon, prizes, wings for a year. If we can hit some half-court shots, 4 different people will get an opportunity at a half-court shot for wings for a year. There will be 2 students that will get an opportunity at $10,000 tonight. It's going to be a fun night at the Show Me Center, and you get to see some of these guys that we're talking about. When you look at the guys who are returning, Coach, Trey Kellum obviously is a guy that played a lot of minutes for you, Joel Angus, and Antonius Cleveland and Jamal Calvin. Now, Cleveland, 4 years now. He is a senior. We've seen him get bigger and stronger as the seasons have gone on. He's obviously an all-OVC guy in terms of talent level. Where do you see his game at going into his senior year?
Well, the first thing you talk about when guys are going to their senior year is that we want them to be selfish about how they prepare themselves in the offseason. And what I mean by that is, Eric, like once the last season, your junior year happens, and then what you do up until that point in time when you start playing games your senior year is an investment into your future. So, like, if you're not on the court on your own time, shooting, like doing ball handling, improving your game, then what you're doing is you're taking money out your own pocket. Because, like, once you get done playing at Southeast Missouri State or whichever university that you're at, like, you know, if you didn't perform well your senior year, and the reason you didn't perform well your senior year is the way you prepared yourself in the off season, then you did it to yourself. You took money out of your own pocket. So what we've talked about with Antonius a lot is improving as a shooter, improving as a ball handler, and doing the things necessary. I think one of the biggest things that's going to help Antonius Cleveland be a better player is having better talent around him. You know, a lot of times when Antonius got the basketball, there were 5 people looking at him because we didn't have guys that could shoot the basketball. And so there was not a threat of when he penetrated of what was going to be the outcome because he would kick it out. So they would kind of just like surround him. So I think the thing we talked about with him is improving his catch and shoot opportunities, and also improving because of the fact he's almost 6'7", is like when you penetrating, not trying to get all the way to the rim and using your pull up, because like once he raises up on his jump shot, there's very few people that's going to be able to challenge that jump shot.
Free throws were an issue for your team last year. When you're going into a recruiting class, how big is that? When you look at a guy and say, hey, this guy is a good free throw shooter?
Well, I think it's just shooting. I mean, period. Like, to me, like that all translates. If you're a good shooter, you're a good shooter at all levels. You can make pull-ups at 10 feet. You can make pull-ups at 15 feet. You can make three-pointers, and you can make free throws. It all translates. So, you know, we were a bad three-point shooting team. We were a bad open spot-up shooting team. So, therefore, we were a bad free throw shooting team.
This year, what do you see from, working everybody out? Would you be stunned if you didn't have a market increase in free throw percentage this year?
Yeah, I would think so. The only thing that would prevent that from happening is just simply confidence. I don't see anything as far as like mechanics. I don't see anything as far as like guys' potential to make free throws. So if we're not markedly improved, then it's something that's psychological, which obviously plays a part in free throw shooting.
So you're endorsing Joel Angus's mechanics.
Well, I tell you what, like Joel is such a conscientious worker. He probably,
but he's a good free throw shooter.
He probably spent more time in the gym, like working on his shot, than anybody that I've been around as far as like in that off season. So, I know oftentimes when my wife would take the boys swimming at the rec, or she would go work out there, she always say, I see Joel out there, him and the shooting gun. So I'm just happy the fact that Joel is really invested in the offseason as far as becoming a better basketball player.
One guy we did not talk about, he's 6'7". He is from Serbia. It is Milos Vranis. Tell us a little bit about him. A little size, but another guy that can shoot, right?
Yeah, we call the guys on our team that are foreigners, we call them fuzzies. So
Okay.
I've always had that. I got that from Matt Painter when I was over at Purdue. So we got two fuzzies on our team, and Milos is one of those guys. Milos is that prototypical skilled four-man that you're looking for. He's a really good shooter. He can pass the basketball. He handles the ball like a guard, but he'll be playing that so-called skilled four-spot for us. The biggest thing that'll be like how good of a player Milos is won't be on the offensive end. It'll be like, does that translate over to the defensive end? The physicality of the game, your willingness to rebound, your willingness to defend. So if he's able to throw himself around on the defensive end, offensively, I'm not concerned about him. My concern with him is like him making sure that he gives all that he has on the defensive end. And so what I've seen so far is like I've been really impressed with his ability to go in there and rebound, his ability to go out and switch ball screens and do some things like that. The thing he has to fight against is like, once he misses a shot, like it's over with. Like don't let that, because of the fact you missed a shot, like determine what you're going to do on the other end.
How, as a coach, how do you coach that? I mean, it's kind of like a defensive back in football. He gets beat deep. He can't think about that. In baseball, you're a closer. You get beat in the ninth inning on a home run. You have to not think about it because you got to look forward. As a basketball coach, how do you coach that out of a guy?
Well, to me, I look back at two things. I'm a math guy, so I majored in mathematics. So, like, when guys start getting wrapped up in that, I said, hey, like, if you're a good shooter, like, you're going to shoot like 35% from the three-point line. Then, like, that means that you're missing the shot 65% of the time. So, like, it's the percentage of show. You're going to miss shots. It's not a big deal. So don't get wrapped up in that, okay? And the second part of that to me is like when I worked for a guy at Indiana State, Royce Waltman, every time a guy would miss a shot, he'd start like getting down and like, upset and things like that. He says, what are you upset about? Like, you shoot 30% from the three-point line. Like, I mean, you're going to miss 7 of your 10 shots. So why are you upset at these 7? So like, get over it. And so to me, that's what I just think you have to keep going back and showing them percentages of thing and not letting this dictate who you are. And what we talked to Milos about and other guys that are good shooters, like, you're more important to this team than just shooting the basketball. I mean, that's what you have to do. It's like you're more important to this team than as a shooter. You can bring other things to the table.
I like the math thing because, in baseball, you have 15 years as a career. You hit 300, which means you fail 70% of the time. You're going to Hall of Fame.
Really, really good baseball player.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah. So that's good. All right. What guys have we not talked about that guys that Redhawk fans are going to want to keep an eye on?
Well, Jalen Benton is a new basketball player for us as well. We picked him up late. Actually, Coach Moore saw him in the July recruiting period at an available event. So he's a guy that's another combo guard that comes into a program. And the thing that I liked about him is like, as we tested things out in the summer, all of our best shooters were freshmen. So what I wanted another guy that had a little bit of experience that could come in and knock down shots, because you just don't know how freshmen are going to make that transition. So Jalen Benton is another young man that's in our program that I think what he does, obviously he shoots the basketball, but he's got some calmness to him on the offensive end as well too. So we're excited about him. But other than that, everybody we've talked about, we've got 2 non-scholarship walk-on guys for us that I really enjoy having in the program. That's the hardest job that you have,
I would think,
in America, is going out there and doing everything that those guys are required to do. The lifting, the conditioning, the daily practice, the daily grind, not being on scholarship and oftentimes not rewarded with playing time. So, I've really been pleased with the approach that our 2 guys have had, Donnie and Eli, and their day-to-day work ethic.
All right, a change in your coaching staff. Nick LeGrune moves up from director of operations to paid assistant coach. He was fantastic at his former job, and I know he's a guy that eats, breathes, sleeps basketball.
Yeah, Nick is a guy that I had that he used to work camps for us when I was at Clemson. And Nick LaGrune was a really good basketball player at the NAIA level. He's the all-time leading scorer at his school. And so he would work camps there at Clemson. So I had a relationship with him there. He later come on to be my graduate assistant for me at Mississippi State. After his graduate assistantship, went on to coach at Green Forest Christian. Their team lost in the state championship game in Georgia and Atlanta, so he's played against some competition there. But I was always impressed with Nick's knowledge of the game of basketball. I think some people, like, they get so wrapped up in all the recruiting aspects of it. Well, like, you're in the drills every single day on the practice court, and you've got to be able to, like, demonstrate the fact that the players believe in your knowledge in the X's and O's and not just the recruiting aspect of it. So Nick has done a tremendous job of picking up on things and then also, like, giving that information to our players. So I'm excited about him. He's got a lot of energy on the court. He does a tremendous job with our guys off the court. So I'm excited about what he brings to the program.
Boy, and Adam Gordon and Chris Moore back, and those guys have been staples since you've been here.
Yeah, I tell you what, the thing, Adam is a guy, last year was his first year as a recruiting assistant. And I tell you what, he did a tremendous job of going out, identifying players that we can recruit and staying involved with those guys. He's got an unbelievable network. He started the Rising Coaches Association, which helps administrative people grow from being an administrative person to a recruiting assistant. So he has so many connections and ties. I mean, he come up with a name from a guy at a junior college or a prep school I'd never heard of before, and he'd known the guy because of that connection there. So he's really done a good job of recruiting for us. And then Chris Moore is a veteran in this game. Obviously, he was at Morehead State, recruited Kenneth Fareed to that program. So he just got a wealth of experience.
And then the newest coach that has joined you, Director of Basketball Operations, Tom Berriman.
Yeah, I tell you what, I had a relationship with Anthony Grant. Anthony Grant is now the assistant coach with the Oklahoma City Thunder with Billy Donovan. Obviously used to be the head coach at Alabama. And when I talked to him about Tom, like, I knew that was the guy. Because, like, Anthony gets it. Anthony really goes about his business the right way. I respected the way he ran his program at Alabama. But he just talked about Tom being a willing worker. And then more importantly, like, his like ability to take information that you give him and run with it. And then also him taking things off your plate. I think oftentimes one of the biggest things that assistant coaches can do for you is taking things off your plate. And Tom is a guy that's constantly taking things off my plate and dealing with it.
And then David Potter, who puts in a ton of hours, is back as your grad manager this year.
Well, I tell you what, David Potter, like, is such a presence, you know, in our locker room and then also on the court. Because first of all, people respect the fact that he played at Clemson, and guys understand how good of a player he was. So he plays open gyms with our guys at times, and he still might probably be the best player, you know, on that. So I don't know what that speaks for our recruiting at times. But also the fact is he's such a conduit from the players to the coaches. You know, he gets it. So he's a guy that our players feel really comfortable going to and talking about some of the issues that they may have, and then him bringing those issues to the table for us. So I just think that his rapport with the players is really, really good.
Real quickly here, you open up at the University of Illinois on November 11th. What do you think of the schedule?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a very challenging schedule still. The good thing about the schedule right now is a lot of teams that we played on the road to start a home-and-home series come back to our place. So last year we didn't have a lot of home games because we were kind of stuck because I got the job late of scheduling home and home. So we started a lot of home and homes on the road. So we've got some people coming back to us. But you look at the challenges of going to tradition-rich programs like Illinois and Indiana. We're playing Missouri State, playing at DePaul. So we're still not where we want to be as far as like an ideal schedule. I still would venture to say that we probably have the hardest schedule of the Hall Valley schools as far as like the non-conference. But I think we're really growing as a team. And so your team dictates what type of schedule you have.
When do we get the Salukis back on the schedule?
Well, that's something I tell you what, I've been in contact with Barry Henson, and we both dropped the ball on that. It's a situation there that they have a lot of scheduling conflicts of what they can and can't do with the Missouri Valley Conference because of the type of season we had. our RPI didn't meet their standards as far as like scheduling in the non-conference. So we've got to do our part and be a better basketball team. But we've also been in contact with their administration, and so that's going to happen. I think that's a series that needs to happen. So we are going to get SIU back on the schedule, whether we open up there or whether they'll come here. But we're going to have a home-and-home series with them starting next season.
Good. I'm sure a lot of people want to see that. I know I do. Can't wait for tonight, Coach. 6:30 at the Show Me Center. Best of luck. Keep everybody healthy tonight. Get the excitement level ramped up. And our first coaches show with basketball is just around the corner, so we'll be talking a lot more hoops. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you for having me on. I think this allowed Coach Tuke to kind of down some wings there before he comes up.
He was hitting them hard. We'll get the review from Coach Tuke when we come back. Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you.
That's Coach Rick Ray. That'll do it for our first segment here. Redhawks Coaches Show. We're at Wings, etc. in Cape. Coach Tuke will join us when we come back on the SEMO ESPN Sports Radio Network.
About Wings, etc. See, Wings, etc. has those award-winning jumbo wings. They're popular for both dine-in and carry-out. Now, the word is getting out about Wings, etc.'s appetizer lineup. From the ultimate nachos to the deep-fried pickle spears, frankly, they're irresistible. Friends are sharing time together at Wings, etc. They've got dining rooms filled with HD TVs tuned to the best sports programming, including NFL Sunday Ticket. The people at the next table are talking about Wings, etc.'s daily half-pound lunch special, starting at just $6.49. Plus, Wings, etc. has food and drink specials throughout the week, including 59-cent wings every Monday. Plus, there's the kids menu, and Wings, etc. is family-friendly with video games in the dining room. And the whole community is excited about how Wings, etc. is locally owned and operated, and they're proud to support local athletes, their families, schools, and teams. I guess Wings, etc. is a really big deal around here.
And now, your ESPN Radio Network local weather forecast.
The National Weather Service calling for partial sunshine, about 84 today, a slight chance of rain after midnight tonight with a low of 66, a slight chance of storms tomorrow with a high of 82, and showers and storms likely late Wednesday night down to 60, and a slight chance of morning rain Thursday with a high of 67. Only 60 are high and plenty of sunshine by Friday.
You're up to date with the latest weather forecast breaking on the ESPN Radio Network.
This is Mike Golick for the best in local sports talk and play-by-play. It's SEMO ESPN.
It's the Redhawks Coaches Show live from Wings, etc. in Cape Girardeau. And make this note, we'll be back over in the Jackson location next week. We'll be at the Jackson Wings, etc. next Tuesday at 12 noon after the Redhawk football team goes and picks up a big win at Tennessee Tech. We invite you to join us. And if you're coming for lunch, don't forget they've got their daily half-pound lunch special starting at just $6.49. They've got food and drink specials at Wings throughout the week, including Monday's 59-cent wings. And if you want to bring the kiddos, they have a terrific kids menu, family-friendly video games, and they are open 7 days a week. They're open late on the weekends because the games run late. You want to watch some playoff baseball? You can do it today, 3 o'clock for that Indians-Blue Jays game, and then 7 o'clock tonight for Cubs and Dodgers. Let's talk Redhawks football here with Coach Tom Matukewicz. Boy, basketball has snuck up on us quickly there, hasn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's hard to believe, and I see all the basketball players coming in our building because that's where our training room is, and so I tell them that's the 11th commandment, thou shalt not get injured. So hopefully they get all those guys back healthy, and looking forward. Hopefully they have a good turnout tonight.
How was your bye week? I know you gave the guys a little bit of time off, but, bye week is a chance for you to work on different things. It's a different routine for the guys that they're not used to through the early part of the season. How's the bye week gone?
Well, we set some goals. We really wanted to get healthy and even emotionally get healthy. It's been a long time. We've been grinding for a while. So we gave our kids 2 days off consecutive, both Friday and Saturday. So feel like that's really helpful. And then as coordinators, we did a self-scout through the season and try to identify things that we can improve on. And then all the assistants went out recruiting. So they scoured the earth. And we offered about 20 guys out of those trips. And so we, as a program, we got better. We didn't work on Tennessee Tech too much. We started that on Sunday, so still a little ahead of normal, but just believe in that, the same process that we have for a normal game week will start this week for Tennessee Tech.
You had mentioned that it was a perfect time for a bye week because you had some guys banged up, guys that might have been questionable had you played a game on Saturday. How healthy did you get, and are we going to see much depth chart changing going into Saturday's game?
Yeah, if we played last Saturday, we'd have had at least 4 starters out. Marlon Hampton ended up blowing his knee out. And that's just really tough. I mean, obviously, you're starting nose guard stuff, but he was a senior.
Yep.
And so, man, heart goes out to him, and that's athletics, and so it happens. But he's going on the trip with us, and he's still going to be a big part of our day-to-day operations and be able to impact the game with his attitude. His emotion on the sidelines.
Gives an opportunity now. Anthony Cheatham is the guy who's going to step up at nose guard then.
Yep, and we got Devin Hebert, who's played as a true freshman that has done some nice things.
We saw him in Richmond.
Yep, and so we should be able to, be good. That's still way better than it's ever been. About this time last year, we had 4 starters out. And then my first year, we had 8 starters out. So
it was unbelievable. Your first year was unbelievable.
Yeah. And so that part of things have gotten better because of recruiting, because of training and weight training and stuff. So we're improving. But Roper, didn't miss any time, but he was really banged up. Should be good to go. We'll have to watch him this week. Him and Terrence Hill also has an elbow, but they should be good. And then Alex Snyder was an offensive lineman that ended up going down, missing the EKU game, but we're hoping to have him back. He'll be limited through the week, but hopefully he'll be able to play on Saturday.
So that's your starting right tackle, Alex Snyder. Jerome Miller standing there. We move somebody else up there. How's that look?
Yeah, we would move. Michael Cook was a starter at tackle a year ago, and we'd move Billy in.
Okay, so Billy Dasher will
That's
go.
how we did in the game. Billy Dasher went to our right guard. Michael Cook went to our right tackle.
Well, and that's one of the big keys of having a little depth up there.
Yeah, exactly right.
Because Billy Dasher, I mean, you're talking about a guy who's played 28 Division I games.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's nice being able to have that. Hopefully we don't have to worry about it. But Coach Blake's done a good job of preparing those guys where you don't, didn't seem like we missed a beat there.
Well, if Roper needs a blow, once in a while in this game, and you want to have him out there, you just run another Garrett in.
Yeah, right. Exactly right. So that's nice that we got a little depth and we've been able to stay healthy, and now we got to turn it into advantage. I won't tell you everything that I'm telling the team today, but one of our keys is be the most physical team on Saturday. Because we do come off a bye, even though we're on the road, we should be the fresher team, and we need to impose our will and really get after these guys and with those fresh legs. And so that's my challenge to the team.
And if anybody knows how physical Eastern Illinois is, it's you. Tennessee Tech just found out how physical Eastern Illinois is. That's the team they just played. On their offensive line, Coach, every single one of their starters has played in at least 17 Division I games. Their right tackle will be playing in his 40th game. Their center, 26 games. Pretty veteran. They've got a lot of experience on that offensive line.
Yeah, they do. And so we got our work cut out for us. They've seemed to struggle a little bit in some of the protection stuff, and so with
they've given up the most sacks in the league.
Yep. Yeah. And so they're averaging 4 a game. But I'm telling you, this Michael Birdsong, I was feeling okay until I looked him up on the internet. Have you done that?
Yes.
And you look him up because he's a ginger, and so when I saw that he's a ginger, now I really got concerned because he's one of the toughest guys on the team. He's taken some pretty good shots, and he is doing a really good job. And this is a transfer. He's only had 1 year. He's a graduate transfer. And so, I'm happy for him and what he's been able to do because he hadn't been able to play a lot of football, and he's really come in and has gotten it on.
He's a guy who's playing at his 3rd school since high school. He played 2 years at James Madison. He threw for over 3,000 yards and 26 touchdowns at James Madison. Then he went to Marshall, got beat out for the starting job. He threw for 365 yards, a couple of touchdowns. He decided, I'm not going to be the starter at Marshall. I'm going to drop down. And not only has he made an impact at Tennessee Tech, he leads the league in passing yards. He is second in passing touchdowns. He's 6'5", 225, and he can run a little bit.
Yeah. Last week he was their leading rusher, and there was only 2 design runs. And so that's what's dangerous. You know, you get everybody covered is almost when you start holding your breath, because he'll take off running and scramble for the first down and reverse the field. Breaks it. He's just strong. He's like Jesse, really strong in the pocket. And so if you think you're going to arm tackle him, you're not. You know, you got to get low and get to his legs and stuff. So he's got our attention, and we got to can't let him beat us for sure.
Well, they have been a team that has relied much more on the pass. As I mentioned, he leads the league in passing yards, but they are next to last in the league, not even averaging 100 yards rushing per game. So at least the statistics say sometimes they abandon the run a little bit.
Yeah, and they've got a couple of running backs that are freshmen and stuff. So they've, the coach, I think, wants to run the ball. Disappointed they haven't been able to run. They still try to run. We just got to make sure that, we still stop the run. Don't let them get any cheap runs in there. And that way you can get in a long third down situations where, try to have success against Birdsong.
And you look at coaches and you kind of try to figure out, okay, what type of a coach were they? Were they an offensive guy? Were they a defensive guy? Marcus Satterfield is 39 years old. The last 3 years, he's been the offensive coordinator at Temple, and they won the American East Division last year. One of the best years Temple football has had in decades. And so he brings his offensive coordinator and his offensive system to Tennessee Tech. So the offense has been something that has really picked up for them. And Birdsong, their quarterback, transferred from Marshall, is a big reason. They've also got a wide receiver named Dontez Bird, transferred from Louisville. 2 years at Louisville, never got to play wideout, but he was a special teams guy. The league leader in kick returns and an explosive athlete. He already has a 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown that came against Mercer.
Yeah, it just does a great job with the ball in his hands. He made a lot of people miss, and it was the opening kickoff of the season that he had a 100-yard touchdown. And we actually knew Dontez out of high school and when he was transferring from Louisville, so we know a little bit about him. He's kind of like a running back a little bit, even though he plays receiver. He's thick like a running back, so he'll break a lot of arm tackles. And we got to know where number one is.
And 2 tight ends that both transferred with Coach Satterfield from Temple. I mean, these guys straight from Temple. Kip Patton, 6'5", 240. Alex Carling, 6'5", 245. And each of them have been in the end zone this year. They each have touchdown receptions. Patton has 26 catches. Carling has 7 receptions. So drop-down transfers. They throw to the tight end. They got a third tight end named Jordan Gibberti that rotates into the mix.
Yeah, who's a true freshman. They got some really talented tight ends. Number 9's also, they'll line him up as a running back and just hand it to him. They've run him on vertical routes.
Well, he had 2 rushing touchdowns at Temple, Patton. Yeah, so they've done that with him.
Athletically, he's not like a tight end. He's fast. He's athletic. Got really good ball skills. And so we're definitely preparing for him and what that looks like.
In high school, Kip Patton, the tight end transfer from Temple, played quarterback, running back, wide receiver, D-line, and linebacker.
Yeah. And
what? He didn't kick? What's the problem?
And one thing you haven't even mentioned is they put him in to rush a passer. So on several third down situations, he's played D-end. It's really interesting, to have an athlete like that. And so at least he won't be hard to find. He's 6'5", 240. You're going to know where he's at.
And they don't have the smallish running backs like SIU. Yadi Thainrat, who's their starter, is 200 pounds. Andrew Goldsmith, another freshman. Both these guys are freshmen. He's 210 pounds. So they're not scat backs.
No, you're right. They break a lot of tackles. Even lot of swing routes where they'll throw it, which is like a rushing attempt. And even against Eastern Illinois, against a very good defense, they broke a lot of those tackles.
All right, one final timeout. Back to talk more with Coach Tuke. And think about this Tennessee Tech team the Redhawks are facing. They had Eastern Illinois down 17-3 in their game last week. It is the Redhawks Coaches Show final segment with Coach Tom Matukewicz from Wings, Etc. after this on the SEMO ESPN Sports Radio Network.
See, Wings Etc. has those award-winning jumbo wings. They're popular for both dine-in and carry-out. Now the word is getting out about Wings Etc.'s appetizer lineup. From the ultimate nachos to the deep-fried pickle spears, frankly, they're irresistible. Friends are sharing time together at Wings Etc. They've got dining rooms filled with HD TVs tuned to the best sports programming, including NFL Sunday Ticket. The people at the next table are talking about Wings Etc.'s daily half-pound lunch special, starting at just $6.49. Plus, Wings Etc. has food and drink specials throughout the week, including 59-cent wings every Monday. Plus, there's the kids menu, and Wings Etc. is family-friendly with video games in the dining room. And the whole community is excited about how Wings Etc. is locally owned and operated, and they're proud to support local athletes, their families, schools, and teams. I guess Wings Etc. is a really big deal around here.
We need leadership in Springfield. Terry Bryant is the candidate for state representative who will provide it. Terry Bryant is the right choice for state representative. Terry fights for what's important. Terry's leadership has aided farm families. Bryant earned the Friend of Agriculture endorsement from the Illinois Farm Bureau Activator. Terry works both sides of the aisle to get things done. Vote Terry Bryant for state representative for leadership for our community.
Paid for by the Illinois Farm Bureau Activator.
And now, your ESPN Radio Network local weather forecast.
The National Weather Service calling for partial sunshine, about 84 today, a slight chance of rain after midnight tonight with a low of 66, a slight chance of storms tomorrow with a high of 82, and showers and storms likely late Wednesday night down to 60, and a slight chance of morning rain Thursday with a high of 67. Only 60 our high and plenty of sunshine by Friday.
You're up to date with the latest weather forecast breaking on the ESPN Radio Network.
Well, dude, obviously you'd be better as the focal point of the show. Would I be better for society? No.
Don't miss Russillo and Cano every weekday at noon on SEMO ESPN.
Final segment, Redhawks Coaches Show with Coach Tom Matukewicz. Don't forget Redhawk Madness basketball action at the Show Me Center tonight. It will be 6:30 that they'll open the doors. There'll be plenty of students there. And if you've got kids 14 and younger, get them there early. Get them there when the doors open at 6:30 because the Redhawk basketball team is going to be interacting with the players, maybe a little on-the-court stuff. And every kid 14 and under that comes tonight will get a voucher for a ticket to come back and watch a Redhawk regular season basketball game. The T-shirt cannon will be there. They'll be giving away lots of prizes. There will be 4 individuals who will get a half-court shot attempt for free wings for a year from Wings, Etc. And a couple of students will get a chance at $10,000 for some shooting exhibitions. So it should be fun tonight. You are ineligible for the 10 grand, Coach, just so you know.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm work on my half-short contest, man. That's pretty sweet right there now.
All right. You and I were just talking as you get ready to leave for Cookeville, Tennessee. It's 283 miles to Cookeville, so you're looking at just under 5 hours on the bus. But you don't like to go that long on the bus without a stop. And you have stopped at venues in the past. You've stopped at Papa John's Stadium in Louisville to work out. You've stopped at Faurot Field in Columbia, worked out on the Mizzou Tigers home field. You're going to be making a football stop on the way to Cookeville on Friday.
Yeah, you know, John Robinson, who's the GM of the Titans, has a history with SEMO. He was a graduate assistant here, and he's been very good to us. And I texted him on Sunday after their win and asked him if he would open up their facility to us. And so we're going to practice at noon, not at the Nissan Stadium, but at their actual practice facility. They have a bubble there. And so we'll get to tour their facility, see how the NFL team practices and all that. That'll be really neat for those kids. And we have quite a few Tennessee players actually, and they're huge Tennessee Titan fans. So I'll have to they'll probably be asking for autographs to embarrass us all. But
now you do know that former SEMO All-American lineman Eugene Amano spent 7 or 8 years with the Titans, and he's got a chain that includes Nashville of Hawaiian restaurants there. We need to maybe get some Hawaiian food while we're there with Eugene.
Great call. Yeah.
As far as Tennessee Tech goes, Coach, obviously we talked about their passing offense, so they like to throw the ball a lot. We talked about their ability to return kicks with Dantes Bird. They have a tendency to give up a lot of sacks. That certainly has been a problem for them.
But this is the big one.
Turnover margin, they are dead last in the league, a -8. They have already lost a league-high 9 fumbles. So turnovers have been a big problem, and it plagued them a little bit last week with Eastern Illinois. They were up 17-3 in that game and ended up losing.
Fumbled it in the red zone, and that's terrible. And so I know their coach is working hard on it, but that's something we got to really take that next step. We had 5 fumbles last week or 2 weekends ago, only lost 2, but the ball was on the ground way too much, and so. We worked on a lot in the off week, but we got to make sure that we get up there. We got to go +2, +3 this weekend. If we do, I like my chances.
One thing that both of these teams do well is possess the football on offense. They lead the league in time of possession. You are third in conference games in terms of time of possession. They are number 1. You're number 2 in conference play. So 2 offenses that control the football for a long stretch of time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they a lot of I think their quarterback does a great job of extending drives. They're really good on third down, which is a deal we got to make sure we do a great job in. But, at the end of the day, one thing that I really want our team is they got to believe. When it's tough because a lot of these seniors we haven't turned the corner as a program. We haven't had the huge winning seasons. And so a lot of these guys, that confidence and that belief that they're going to win. When Eastern Kentucky scored right before half and it was 14-6, I look at the sideline. I'm not sure how many of them really believe we're going to win. That's a 1-score game. That's not a big deal. But I just felt that it was different. And so the message is we got to believe. You got to believe in your teammates. You got to believe in your techniques. You got to believe you're going to be in position to make a play and then make it. And believe that even if something bad happens, something good's right around the corner. Like that's your mindset as a college football player. And that's going to be one of our keys to victory is the belief that we can do this. And, a lot of fans, even my wife, thinks we're going to be 4-1 going into Jacksonville State, and that's certainly a possibility. But talking about it doesn't get you there. Like we have to do what it takes to play well Saturday, and that happens starting today. And we have to have one of our best Tuesday practices. I think we got to exactly define what it is we need to do well this week, and then we need to attack it.
Scoring more touchdowns. I know you'd love to do that as an offense, and this is a team in Tennessee Tech's defense. They're giving up 173 yards per game on the ground. This might be a nice matchup for your stable of running backs.
Same thing. Like we need to score touchdowns, as my wife's told me. But how? We got to stay ahead of the change. You can't have procedure penalties. You can't have holding penalties. You can't get a tackle for loss and get behind the chains. And that's how you extend drives to get the touchdowns. And obviously the turnover issue that we had, 2 of them. And so that's a huge point of emphasis. And I think we can take care of those parts, the touchdowns will come in the red zone.
And because you're certainly doing enough on defense. Your scoring defense ranks 3rd in the league, but in conference games, you are 2nd only to Jacksonville State in terms of giving up points. So your defense is doing the job in terms of keeping the point levels low.
And one thing our defense has to improve on is the big play. We're going to give up some passing yards certainly this weekend because the guy's really good, but we got to make them earn everything they get. Everyone they catch, we got to immediately hit and tackle, and we'll be fine. We got to make them earn it, though. We can't give them cheap touchdowns, and we got to keep the ball in front of us. And when we're in position, we got to make those plays.
Yeah, Tennessee State beat Eastern Kentucky, they intercepted Benny Coney 4 times.
Exactly.
They forced turnovers.
Eastern Kentucky had 5 turnovers.
Yeah.
I mean, you're never going to win any game doing that. And so that's what we got to do. And so I think the script is set. Really excited about game week again. And of course, we're on the road. Wish we were in Houck, but, it's just good to be back in a game plan week.
Last year, you beat them by 3 touchdowns because of special teams. You got a 50-yard field goal from Ryan McCrum. You got a punt return for a score from Paul McRoberts. You blocked a kick for a touchdown. Yeah. Special teams. These are the top 2 punters in the OVC and arguably the top 2 kickers in the OVC. Well, their punter and kicker's the same guy, Nick Madonia. But these are the top 2 guys in terms of punting and kicking in the Ohio Valley Conference. So both of these teams kick the ball very well.
Yeah, special teams are going to be huge. They were a year ago. I think we are turning the corner. I think we had a really good game last week, and key to victory is one of our special teams. We got to make a big play, either score, set up a score, or block a kick. That's the goal this weekend on special teams.
Cam Sanders had a 40-yard kick return in the last game.
Yeah, and so he's right there too. I mean, a couple just arm tackles away from taking it to the distance.
All right, we're going to draw now. Southeast Health has provided us with some pink T-shirts in recognition of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and so Coach is going to pick some names of winners. We got 3 T-shirts. John Spear of Cape Girardeau has won a T-shirt. All right. Bins, what do you think that first name is? Sienna. Is it Sienna? Sienna? Sierra. I'm sorry. Okay. And we've got
Mandela Bins.
Both Bins. We've got 2 Bins and a John Spear. 2 Bins and a Spear. All right. So, Coach,
see if when they get their shirts, see if we can work on their handwriting too, man.
There we go.
You go to Jackson High School. Where did you go? Yeah. See,
there it is.
See,
I feel like a pharmacist trying to read a script from a physician. You can't read the handwriting.
Which one you want? There you go.
All right, we'll pass out the pink T-shirts. Coach, we will see you Friday as we head to Tennessee Tech. Thanks so much for the time. Best of luck Saturday. That's Coach Tom Matukewicz. He'll be back with us next week. Don't forget, we're in Jackson's Wings, etc. location next week. And don't forget the playoff baseball tonight. You can watch it here at Wings. Late night Blues game, 9 o'clock in Vancouver. Blues looking for their second ever 4-0 start. You can watch that game here, or you can listen to it on ESPN 92.9 FM. Russillo and Cannell coming up next. So long, everybody, from Wings.